All right, good morning, y'all. We're getting started. We'll make this happen. Just to be safe. We want to take this to another level and get this pumped up with our sunrise sermons. Today we're talking about desperate or determined. Where are you coming in when God says it's time to do something? Are you coming in desperate or are you coming in determined? Where are you with that? Where are you with your faith in what God is saying to do? And let's be honest about it. I mean, I'm going to be honest about mine. Not where I would want to be. You know, say it like that. I'm not where I would want to be, but I'm aware of where I need to go. I can say it like that. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm aware of where I need to go. And being aware of that is one of the main things that I've been able to do and keep my focus, right? I've been able to do that and keep my focus. And when I do that, I'm able to do that with some integrity, right? Some folks can't do that with integrity. They got to do that just however it comes. But I'm able to do that with some integrity because I'm being honest in my perspective on Bruce and where Bruce is in this Christian journey with the Lord and his development as a Christian, as one who loves the Lord. Listen, I can love him and still be in a learning position. And so let's be honest there. Let's not misinterpret this and throw this out there and have someone else feeling like they don't love the Lord enough or whatever that might be. Let's get that straight. So I want to make sure that we're in tune with that. God bless. God bless. God be with you. And so we're looking at Exodus chapter 14 today. Exodus chapter 14. And God help us, this is going to be a sermon in segments. Can I put it that way? Lengthy chapter, but it'll be a sermon in segments and bits and pieces. And I want you to understand where we're coming from. And so this first part simply gets us to what God has spoken to Pharaoh, told him where to camp, told him exactly the location, where to camp, how to position the people in relationship to the sea and the wilderness. And God said something severely off when he does it, right? God says something that's severely off when he does it. He says, hey, while you're out there, here's what I'm going to be working on this side of things. I'm going to be hardening Pharaoh's heart. I'm going to make Pharaoh come after y'all. I'm going to make Pharaoh come out and come after you and pursue you in the wilderness while he thinks he has an advantage over you. And so God shares this with Moses, and it says, and the people did so. They did what God shared for them to do, knowing that God was going to have the strongest army in the world pursue them. Okay, let's take that into consideration. They know what God's up to. They know what God is planning to do. And he's planning to do it, let's say this again, so that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. keep in mind, God is still building a relationship with the Israelites. But is God trying to get the Egyptians to know and respect him as Lord in the same manner? Or is it different? And that's where we're challenged. That's where we're challenged at this time. Because God isn't expecting them to do or be the same way. God is coming at the Egyptians from another perspective because they have a different faith that he's competing with. And he's doing something else with the children of Israel who he had a relationship with their fathers, but now he's trying to develop a relationship with them. Keep that in mind. So it's a different winning over that God's trying to do when it comes to Egyptians. Now take this into account. God brings up, not only is he trying to win them over, but then God puts this out. Right? This is what God says. Now, it was told the king of Egypt that the people had fled. And the heart of the Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? So he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. Also, he took his 600 choice chariots and all the chariots of the Egyptian with captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the children of Israel, just as he said. So the Egyptians pursued them, and all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, his horsemen, and his army, and overtook them, camping by the sea beside Pi Hahiroth, before Baal Zephyr. Right? Just as planned. Here it goes. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they were very afraid, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. Then they said to Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness? Mm-hmm. Why have you so dealt with us to bring us out of Egypt? Is this not the word that we told you in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. Right? Talk about a negative outlook. Talk about a negative outlook. Here are the people of God knowing what God has planned, and they're sitting up here complaining to the pastor, complaining to the associate pastor, complaining to the choir director, complaining to whoever will listen that, hey, y'all should have left us alone. Y'all should have left us where we were. We were better off before y'all even started this congregation. We were better off before these folks came pursuing us. We were better off when we were just serving them and we were beholden to them. But now that we're supposedly free and we're out here in this wilderness, are we just left to die? Desperate. They knew what God was doing because Moses had guided them and was open and sharing with them. But when it came to the reality of it happening, it was a lot different how it played out than how it sounded. It was a lot different in how it became a reality and it got up in their face and it was so real than how it was discussed. And so when they were planning it, it didn't come out the way it played out. Planning it is something different, and you're moving around pieces as if you're on a chessboard and things seem to be under your control. But when it plays out and things seem to be chaotic, that's when you start to see how people really react in real time. And so the real-time reaction of the Israelites was, what's up with this? We should have just stayed in Egypt and died. Boom. Dangerous thinking, dangerous mindset. And at most, they were desperate. And so, as it says, right, as it says in verse 10, they cried out to the Lord. They cried out to the Lord. I want to pause there for a minute and hover on something that seems to be an echo of some things that we've heard before, right? Um, and I think we can get there and understand it pretty well. In Psalm 107, it occurs about 3 to 4 times, at least 3 times, that this verse is shared. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he saved them out of their distresses. Right? They cried out to him. And when they cried out to him, he was responsive in rescuing them. They cried out to him. When they cried out to him, he was very deliberate in delivering them. They cried out to him. When they cried out to him, he was very, very careful to comfort them with all of the chaos that was going on around them. God didn't do it part way. God didn't do it a little bit. God did it 100%. It's the same way when we look at Jesus healing someone. Do you want to be made whole? And so God delivers out of our distress. He doesn't just say, okay, let me just send, something to touch you up. He gives us a full makeover. He gives us a full do-over. He gives us a full rebuild. And so when God is delivering, he does it 100% as well. Hope somebody gets that. And so that's why in Psalm 107, it talks about the repeated rebellion of the people, the repeated drifting of the people, the repeated times when the people went astray, and God still heard them cry out and delivered them from their distress. Let that sink in. He delivered them from their distress multiple times, no matter how much they went astray. God delivered them from their distress in Psalm 107. And here again, we see the people of God crying out. And in their crying out, can God deliver so that they might know and understand God's on their side? You get what I'm saying? They might come to believe and accept that God's on their side. And I wouldn't be challenged by it as much as I read this, continuing in Exodus 14, starting at verse 13. And Moses said to the people, do not be afraid. Right? This is the leader. This is the deliverer. This is the pastor. Hey, don't be afraid, y'all. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Right? See him deliver. See how he delivers, which he will accomplish for you today. You ain't got to wait long. It's going to happen. You ain't got to hold on too long. It's going to happen. You ain't got to hold on too much further. It's going to happen. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see again no more forever. Boom. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. Right? The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. And when we enter into this, right, and we're saying the Lord will fight for you, right? First time we're talking about the salvation of the Lord. That's his deliverance, right? Then we're talking about holding your peace, right? How often have we spoken or misspoken and we should have been quiet? How often have we gotten ahead of ourselves and said, oh, Lord, and we should have just been quiet. That's what Moses is saying. Hold your peace. Close your mouths. Watch and listen. Watch and learn. Right? You don't need to talk about it no more. Stop. Just watch. And so Moses is offering this to the people, and then the Lord says to Moses, why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward. But lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I will indeed harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. So I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over his army, his chariots and his horsemen. And then the Egyptians shall know that I am Lord, when I have gained honor for myself over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. Come on. He's talking about it, right? He's saying it. And look. And so that's what God tells Moses. And then what? And the angel of God, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud went before them and stood behind them. So it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. Thus it was a cloud and darkness to the one, and it gave light by night to the other, so the one did not come near the other. Right? And so it's preventing the Egyptians from advancing and taking advantage and overtaking the Israelites. And it's allowing the Israelites to move stealthily with enough light to see where to go. Here it is. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by the strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went after them in the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. Are we still with me? Are we still with me on this? So this is getting into the final parts of this. Listen to this. I'm going to read this as well. At some point they followed. At some point they saw enough happening to follow Moses in how God was directing them. And in these final verses, verse 30 and 31, it says, so the Lord saved Israel. Can we stay there? So the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt, so the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. Look at that result. Look at the result of that. The people feared the Lord and they believed the Lord and Moses. Right? Who was delivering the message? Moses. Who was showing them, hey, look, if we hold on, the Lord's going to do it today. Moses. If we're saying that Moses is the mouthpiece, naturally, after this experience, they're not just going to believe the Lord, but they're also going to believe Moses as the Lord's mouthpiece because, look, he delivered on what he said. That's real. And listen, the text is clear. They cried out. And the Lord delivered them. He saved them from their distresses. 100%. Didn't leave half of it hanging out. Didn't leave them all torn up and, well, y'all get over it. Gotta help y'all to remember to trust me next time. No. Delivered them. Delivered them right out of it. And when he delivered them, he destroyed the others. When he delivered them, he destroyed the Egyptians. When he delivered them, he put the Egyptians out. When he delivered them, he took the Egyptians out. And he took the Egyptians out by utilizing the same mechanisms that he used to save the children of Israel. Right? The Egyptians were overtaken by the water. And when the waters returned, that's what covered up the chariots and the horsemen and all the army of Pharaoh. But that wasn't how the children of Israel had to deal with it. And remember, they're using Moses with his arms stretched. But it isn't by the power of Moses. It's by the power of the Lord. Moses is a mechanism. Moses is an instrument. Moses is a visible assurance for the people. But how it's truly happening is by the supernatural power of God. And that's what we need to not get lost on. How many of y'all seen the Ten Commandments and Charlton Heston is standing up there braving the winds and the water? That's a visible assurance for us in our humanity. And I'm real about it. We can get quiet about it as we want to, but when we talk about it, our desperation, when does that become part of our dependence on God? When does that desperation turn into dependence upon God and trusting God to put everything into his hands? When does that desperation turn into that and we're able to say, hey, look, Lord, I'm trusting you with this? How many of us will be shaking in our boots like those Israelites? We know what the Lord is planning on doing. We know he's got something in store, and we don't know exactly how he's going to do it. But man, the preacher said he's going to deliver us today. But look at them. They're the strongest army in the world. We're going to face them. We're going to fight them. That's the type of stuff that we have to contend with as believers. Can we get outside of that and shift from that desperation to some dependence that can develop into a stronger faith, that can develop into more of us being determined to believe God and believe the one he sent to preach, right? What happened when Jesus shared, I am? When Jesus said, I am, he said he was blasphemous. What happened when Jesus saved and forgave sins? They said no one can forgive sins but God. This is blasphemous. What happened when the Messiah came and performed his messianic ministry? He was seen as blasphemous, right? According to John, right? Are we still there? Are we still hanging on? According to the Gospel of John, this is the one who came, who was the Word that became flesh, right? And dwelt among us. And he came to his own. and they received him not. It was full of truth and everything else, but he came to his own, and they didn't receive him. Think about that. He came to his own people, the ones he primarily came to save, right? He came to his own tribe. He came to his own folks. He came to his own group of people, and he sought to offer them the redemption of God, the salvation of God, the deliverance of God. And they rejected him. They rejected him. They rejected him because they thought it was blasphemous. They rejected him because they thought this is ridiculous, right? You've heard it said, but I tell you this. No, that's how the Messiah is supposed to come. The Messiah is supposed to be a Lion of Judah coming to conduct and lead warfare and free the people, remove the chains of captivity, and strengthen the people and empower the people to where we come on and we wreck the oppressors. That's what's supposed to happen when the Messiah arrives. That was the belief. It was going to be lightning bolts and warfare, not some baby in a manger, not some carpenter with a message by the Sea of Galilee. No, that wasn't their idea of the Messiah. And so he was rejected because at some point in our desperate lives, we've got to turn it over and put it in the hands of the divine. At some point, when things get bad enough and we find ourselves at the edge, at the cliff, just hanging on for dear life, and we've got to turn it over to God. At some point, we come to realize that we have to depend on God and divine intervention to get us out of what all of our humanity has gotten us into. All of our sinfulness, all of our waywardness, all of our reckless free choice, free will has gotten us into, right? And we can make some choices. Boy, we can make some choices that don't make sense, but Lord help us. This is what we know. This is what we understand. God still can deliver. God still can deliver. He came to his own. They received him not. But I'm telling you, this is your reassurance here. They cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he saved them out of their distresses. Psalm 107, read it. He talks about it and repeats it, that the people of God keep getting themselves in trouble, but God keeps delivering. God continues to deliver by doing it and doing it 100%, totally delivering people out of their troubles. God does it. God does it amazingly. God does it expediently. God does it in a matter of totality, and he does it in such a way to where you cannot help but stand up and say, Amen.